Those look Dominican. Okay.
That song, praise the Lord and honor to his prophet, Noble Joe Ali, the founder of the Moorish-American Temple of America. His Lord Murk, the angel in training in chapter 4, Ministry of Death. Another interview where, in the public we find people wanting to inquire upon, nationality and the things that are pertaining to it. One of those things being my fez. So the sister here, she had inquired on what the fez was, and so I decided to.
And what is a fez?
I decided to have the conversation recorded for your viewing pleasure. The fez is the headdress of Moorish-Americans, the headdress of our forefathers of over 50,000 years here in North America, as well as the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. And the word fez derives from the Latin word fas. So, its significance is rank and nobility, mastery of self, and the consciousness that one is building a temple of perfected man. It's an incomplete pyramid. So the flat top is to signify that we're still building up until we reach the pinnacle, or the epitome of human life, which is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Oh, that's very beautiful. And you said the Moorish-Americans, where are their ancestors?
Right. So we'll start with the Moors were the first people, are and will be.
First people on Earth?
On the planet, yes. On the planet. So first it's going into a little bit of history of the planet. The planet itself, geologically speaking, is approximately 78 trillion years old, along with the rest of the planets on the planet, things may manifest here in the solar system. So now when we deal with where on the planet Earth, our records, the records of our ancestors dictate that we had began life in what is now known as Mecca. Some cultures call it the Garden of Eden, but geographically speaking, it's a little west of what is known as Egypt and Ethiopia today, and Asia Minor, which is called Arabia. And our forefathers knew it as the translation in English Canaan, and we had traveled westward past Egypt after we got permission from the pharaohs to settle in that portion. And as we continued to travel west, we established ourselves kingdoms known as Morocco, Tripoli, Tunis, and Algiers. And these are the names that were given up around the late 1800s, early 1900s. Prior to that, our people had been given the name, or the people that had been living there before those political jurisdictions in history have been referred to or given the names Saracens, Phoenicians, Carthaginians, Egyptians, angels,
so how do you know
wizard.
How do you know that you're the first people on Earth? Where does your knowledge and information come from that?
Well, the knowledge of us being the first people on the earth comes from, first off, we need to deal with the science. So anthropologically speaking, just going through the study of the history of humans, our people have the oldest records. And because the records of our people have been the oldest to date, that is dating back millions of years. Speaking of the type of life that we were living 50, 80,000 years ago, 120,000 years ago, in like actual written script, that's how we dictate that, like anthropologically, like something.
So tell me, why do you wear the fez?
Well, it's the custom of my forefathers to wear my fez, so I honor my forefathers by wearing my fez.
How do you have such a connection to your forefathers and your history and ancestry? How do you know? How and why do you feel so connected to your ancestry?
Well,
and how do you know those are your forefathers? A lot of people in this country don't know where their families are from.
Well, a lot of the people, I'll answer from the last question to the first. A lot of our people don't know where our forefathers are from due to the advent of the myth of white supremacy, which was founded from the years of 1853 to 1865, along with the manifestation of the Knights of Columbus and Ku Klux Klan, which during the Reconstruction period burned most of the libraries and took away most of the literature that our people here in North America have been compiling for thousands of years. So the literature that wasn't burned or and wasn't destroyed. It was kept in records that were outside of our reach. Now in 1886, a man was born by the name of Noble Jew Ali, who founded the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1913. And he used this institution for number one, for the whole of humanity. And the way he did this was, one, providing us with an education of who we are, two, teaching us about our higher self and our lower self, and then three, teaching us that we weren't Negroes, colored folk, black people, or Ethiopians. It's names that were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. Right, well, this is when the names are given to the people. So after 1865, during the time of slavery, it was no longer like...
Who's this man? You said, what was his name?
Noble Jew Ali.
How did he come to found this library, and how did he know about his lineage? Where was his knowledge from?
Well, Noble Jew Ali was born in the state of North Carolina in 1886. He was taught primarily, the first mother for all people on the planet is his, or rather the first teacher for all people on the planet is the mother. So the first person that he learned from on the physical realm was his mother. Then he traveled to different portions of the planet, one of them being Egypt, and another one being Saudi Arabia, where he met with the first Sultan of Arabia, Sultan Abdul ibn Aziz Saud. Right. And so he reacquired all this information that had been held back by the Muslims of India, Palestine, and I believe it was India, Palestine, and I believe Egypt.
How did he have these opportunities to go there? Why did he go there to begin with? What was this, how did he make that decision to go to those places?
Well,
how was he able to leave America at that time?
Well, at that time when he, as a what?
Well, I'm assuming that his background was not, very well off. From his background, as he was, possibly had a history or ancestors that were slaves. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm asking.
Nah, it's all good. Nah, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
I can't even travel to Africa. I haven't been there yet. I always wanted to go there.
I love these questions because people think that Noble Jew Ali was somebody to play with or mess with. Like, that's a good question. Like, how did somebody who's a so-called Negro or so-called colored go from place to place? The thing was, Noble Jew Ali was never a Negro, black, or colored man, because these types of people have never existed. Because he had a nationality and because he was aware of his culture and his divine creed, he was able to act like it and thus be respected like it. So when he went across from place to place acquiring more information, here first in America from his own people, he was able to go to the various different countries.
I'm confused. How did his mother know about the history? How did the family know so much about this history, this connection to the Moorish culture?
So I can't remember the sister's name now. I believe it was Turner or something, Sister Turner. Anyway, his mother was a so-called Cherokee. Cherokee also being a slave label. Our people did not call ourselves Cherokee. But she was of that lineage of Moors here in America. And so a lot of the Moors that had lost their, and that had been struck with the amnesia of their so-called African ancestry, the ones here, we were very well aware of it. We never lost that. We knew that this was our land, and we knew that the people over there were our cousins, and that we were one people. So as that knowledge was passed down through oral tradition, Noble Jew Ali picked it up and then taught it to the masses.
The Cherokees and the Moors, or you're saying the Cherokee Native American tribe is actually connected with the Moor?
Right. Well, the people who refer to themselves as Cherokee now only do so for political reasons. Cherokee was actually a tribe, and tribes are subdivisions of nations. So the Cherokee tribe nation, that and not only is it politically incorrect, it's linguistically incorrect, pursuant to the English language's rules of grammar. A tribe and so the Cherokee tribe was a group of Moors who had been inhabiting here for quite some time. And after we had given up our nationality and went under the name of Indian, other people usurped the title of Cherokee for,
Can you tell me about these buttons that you're wearing, what they mean?
Certainly. This right here is the Moorish-American pin that we receive at the Moorish-American Temple of America. We're American citizens, but we're descendants of Moroccans. Moroccan being the political jurisdiction of the empire. This right here is the flag of the Nation of Islam, which was established in 1930 by the Master Farah Muhammad and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And then this flag here is the universal flag of the Nation of Guards of Earth, or the flag that was created by Universal Shamgar-Allah of the organization, which at the time, 1964 to 1968, was referred to as Allah's 5% Nation of Islam, or i.e. the 5%ers. Peace, God. You know what I'm saying?
What does that mean?
Which one? Which part?
5% of what?
The 5%. 5% is an ideology that was made popular and common by the Nation of Islam, where in the Lost Found Muslim lesson number 2 in their doctrine of the Supreme Wisdom lessons, it asks who is the 5% in the poor part of the earth. And the 5% would be the poor righteous teachers who do not believe in the teachings of the 10% and are all wise, and know who the living God is, and teach that the living God is the Son of Man, the Supreme Being, the Black Man of Asia, and teach freedom, justice, and equality to all human family of the planet Earth.
What is this one again? This one?
This is the flag of the Nation of Islam, the flag that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said belonged to all 22 million of the so-called American Negroes here in North America, who are not Negroes, but members of this nation and the lost tribe of Shabazz.
So what is the connection between the Nation of Islam and the Moor people that you're talking about right now?
Well, the Moorish-American Temple of America was an institution that was made to teach our people that our nationality was Moorish-American. Now, at that time, from 1913 to 1928, this was the only organization that was teaching our people who we were. And from 1930 to 1934, this organization was actually manifest to continue the teachings, but it was in a slightly different manner.
So are they connected, the Nation of Islam and the Moor?
Well, we're the same people, it's just different organizations. Just like you and I are connected, but we share two different nationalities. So we have two different perspectives on life, but we still live in the same circumference.
So are the people of the Nation of Islam the same as the people, the Moor? People with the lineage of the Moor?
Yes, the same people. The people in the Nation of Islam, the 5% Nation, the Moorish science, we're all one people.
Why do you say all the people who are of African descent living here are part of the Nation of Islam?
I don't say of African descent. I don't know.
I missed that.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I don't advocate that our people are African. Africa is a continent. People are. What's your nationality?
American.
What kind of American?
My nationality.
What's the nationality of your forefathers?
My ethnic is terminology. My ethnicity is Chinese, and my nationality, since I was born here, is American.
Is China a nation?
Yes, but I'm not Chinese because I'm not a citizen of China. But anyway, right? You have to make sure you get the terminology correctly, since you're very well.
Now, actually, sister, I have a treatise here on nationality that I created, and nationality. No man can change the descendant nature of a person. Somebody come from China and come to America. I mean, you could say that you're no longer Chinese, that you're American, but I mean, my people have been here for 50,000 years. We've seen different people come and go, and we refer to them by their nationality. Like if somebody came from Ireland and said, I'm not Irish, I'm American, it's like, but you're Irish.
Well, technically a nationality. Well, anyway, forget that. But I'm still curious, what is the connection? You said the nation of people who call themselves African American or, who are descendants of slaves. You said that they're all part of the Nation of Islam.
Right, I never even said that we were descendants of slaves. Our people were never really slaves until 1779 and 1865. Our people, the so-called Negroes, were actually the first slave masters. And we had the worst slavery ever. Actually, the European peoples, who we refer to as the white man now, were our slaves for hundreds of years. And what they did to us is nothing in comparison to what we did to them and what we have been doing. We have been trading them from Africa. They couldn't, live in Africa, so we enslaved them in Europe. We brought them over to America, but they wasn't really. When? Oh, that was well, before the Kingdom of Granada fell in 1492. So I say around let's see, the Punic Wars were 300 BC. I'll say from about maybe 400 BC to 1780. So about, wow, that's almost,
Where did you learn all this information?
wow, that's over 1,000 years. Ouch. I can see why they're mad. What was the question?
Where does all your knowledge come from and why it's important?
Oh, well, this knowledge comes from intense study of the teachings of Noble Drew Ali, the teachings of Master Farah Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad, and then various.
How did you learn about that? How did you discover and come upon the teachings?
Oh, I was walking through Harlem. I was on 145th and not Adam Payton, Frederick Douglass, and there was a seafood spot, and I just walked past it and I saw a bunch of symbols. One of them was the crescent moon and star. The other one was a pyramid. Another one was a compass and a square sign, the sign of the Freemason fraternity. Another sign was a 6-point star, what they call the Star of David, and the last sign was a compass. So I asked the brother behind the counter, what does it mean? And, I was intrigued by the symbology, and in the time I was seeking power. So I asked him, when I saw one of the symbols, I asked him, how can I acquire this power? And he said, you need to learn, knowledge. And from there, he taught me some things, and I took those lessons, and I continued to grow until I started going to different libraries, finding things are really in black and white. Things are I tried to find the history of my people being enslaved in slave ships, and I couldn't find a slave ship anywhere in America. I couldn't find one slave ship nowhere, not even the remnants. Because I was taught that 300 million so-called Africans were brought here during the transatlantic slave trade. I couldn't find one remnant. I couldn't even find a piece of wood that belonged to one of these slave ships. So as I started, I really started to look at
So you're questioning the history of slaves in America? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm definitely questioning the history of the people whom they say are African American being slaves in America. I can't find any evidence to support the theory that 300 million people. Think about it like this: the same people who get cancer from being outside 15 minutes in Florida came to Northwest Africa and held a 300-year-long campaign against the fiercest warriors on the planet, and then you then you brought us 9,000 miles across the water to people that look exactly like us, and we didn't help each other. That's ridiculous. I mean,
Why did these ideas and this knowledge and theories stick out to you? Why did it appeal to you?
Well, I grew up in a culture that's called Puerto Rican. So, I always realized that a pride came with knowing who you are, where you came from. And when I, observed my community, I always had a little bit of a freedom fighter spirit. So in the Bronx, I grew up in the South Bronx. So, when I took a good look at my community, I saw that, all the other nationalities, they had something, but ours didn't. So right across the street from Millbrook, you get hungry, you go to what? You go to the Chinese restaurant. You go to the Kennedy's Fried Chicken, who's back there? Arabs. Who holding down La Bodega? La Bodega's held down by Dominicans. When you go to the other spot, it's Arabs. Yo, let me get this, let me get that. So it's like, I can't go if you go around the corner to get some clothes, it's somebody from Africa. And he don't look like you. He don't even speak English like you. His mannerisms are different. The way he dresses, the way he moves, even the way he blinks is not like yours because you have different nationalities.
So you were looking for something
that was mine. Right, one that was mine. And so I was in one that was mine, but nobody else, they didn't acknowledge that it was theirs. Because everybody in the position that I was in, we look externally for something. So, like for example, our women, they straighten their hair out to look like Europeans, but our women's hair look like this. You know what I'm saying? It's beautiful like this, the way Allah God made it. But what do? We pay hundreds of dollars to get our hair to look like some.
What do you mean when you say our?
The people of Moorish descent in America, the Asiatics, referred to as Negroes.
Asiatics?
Asiatics.
Okay.
Sean D, are you familiar with that term, Asiatics?
No.
Right, Asiatics is a term that is ascribed to people that are pertaining to Asia. So for example, the continent of Africa, we were taught by Elijah Muhammad that the original people called this continent Asia. because there's no difference between Africa and Asia. There was nothing disconnecting it. It's all one continent, just like Europe. Europe is West Asia, so-called Africa is South Asia, and our people ran all of that territory. And we documented everything. Everything is like, it's not like somebody woke up and said, hey man, this is a good idea, we should just say that we were there. Like, nah, like the lineage, the names, the crescent, the family crest.
Have you read other theories or other challenging theories that are, other ideas or other books that kind of challenge the theories that you've been learning and studying? No? Do you think it would be a good idea for you to?
I haven't been able to run across any literature that is.
What do you mean? There's a lot of literature about history of people that contradicts what you're saying.
I mean, it would have to make logical sense before I read more than 5 pages. Like, I've read many books that said that people from Europe, came to Africa and, and enslaved us, but, they never said how. They never mentioned the names of the battles, the conquest. They never mentioned the names of the generals that were defeated.
Maybe you need to find some of the history, to dig a little deeper into the history and the books about it, because there's definitely a lot of history about it.
I need to find it. I definitely need to find it. It's like when they speak of the conquistadors here in South America, they say this one was defeated by this one, and it's like a well-documented history. They don't do that with
I think it's documented. I think there's definitely. I don't know. I haven't actually read it myself, but I'm actually interested in it. The history of, for example, I was reading yesterday about a man here whose family's directly connected to people in Ghana who were enslaved, and it said that the people of his tribe actually sold him into slavery.
Yeah.
So there's documents of that, I think.
There's a lot of documents of that, but there's no documents of Europeans beating me up and enslaving me. There's documents of my people beating me up, or me beating up my people and selling them to slavery, but no Europeans. I've looked for it. I've tried to I used to think Noble Drew Ali didn't know what he was talking about. I used to think Noble Drew Ali was a downright fool. So I did everything in my power to try to disprove him. And I always looked stupid trying to disprove him. I couldn't find one shred of evidence that, that made logical sense, contradictory to, our people being. I mean, there's pyramids up and down the Mississippi River.
So my knowledge of slavery in America before the 1700s is incorrect?
I don't know what your knowledge of slavery is. If it was what I was taught in school, is wholly incorrect. We had streetlights in America. We didn't have streetlights as slaves. Like, we weren't making streetlights as slaves. That's for certain. Matter of fact, George Washington and I share the same nationality. You know what I'm saying? Andrew Jackson and I share the same nationality. They were like your complexion. They were Asiatics. So, you look at it now, you're like, oh, that's the white man. Like, you're silly. White is a political status that was a social construct, wasn't even used heavily until like the 1800s. So from 1774 to like 1805, 1810, most of the people who we think are so-called white, they're not even white. So-called Caucasian. You know what I'm saying? These are our people. Just like the so-called Spanish. Spanish is a name that was given to the Moorish people after 1513, after we lost the Kingdom of Granada. So all the people that call themselves Spanish, Dominican, Cuban, Puerto Rican, and all this stuff, we all the same people, just speak a different language, just like the Haitians. They speak French and Creole, same people, just different language. You and I, same people, just a different language. Well, we speak English now, The European, and here in North America, he refers to himself as an American now.
So tell me about your show and why you want people to know about this.
Well, by having knowledge of their nationality, they'll have the knowledge of the quality or character that is expected from them. See, the definition of nationality legally is that quality or character that arises from the fact of a person belonging to a nation or a state.
What is that expected of them?
Well, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice is to be expected from all Moorish-Americans at all times, because these are the principles that our nation is founded upon. So we're expected to always be in love of ourselves and of all humanity and all things. Always be truthful to the best of our ability. If we don't know, we don't speak on it. To strive for peace within ourselves and peace with all living creatures. The freedom of ourselves to do what we want without the impeding of freedom to others. And then justice, which is, what is due. From one's words, works, deeds, thoughts. If you do something righteous to me, justice would be that I, reciprocate the same. And this is the main premise.
And is this jewelry that you're wearing connected with your the group, the Moorish people, or?
Well, okay, the Moorish people. First off, you could just say Moorish-American.
Moorish-American.
That's our nationality.
Never heard of it before, so that's probably why I'm
No, it's fine.
to use that name.
Don't worry, Moorish-American. Just like when people say black, people have no time. Yeah, people have no problem saying the black man of America. We all know the definition of black. Nobody's that ignorant they don't know what black means. But yet we still call people black. The Moorish-Americans,
What does black mean?
Black, according to science, means death. But black is sully, sulking, anything bad or negative, something with a negative connotation. And the Spanish word negro, is actually the word that the Moors used to ascribe to slaves. So whenever you call yourself black or negro, you're saying slave. That's the connotation that it comes with. But the Moorish-Americans, the Moors in general, we've always been masters of the earth and everything that comes from the earth, because we created the earth. And so with the creation of the earth, comes the knowledge of the things in it. It's like this quartz crystal. This quartz crystal is of the earth. The copper that I'm wearing is from the earth. We see how copper, the chemistry of copper, as it oxidizes, it changes color to green. And this is copper right here. This is pure copper. The copper changes to green as it's oxidized, and that same green is the green in our flag. The 5-pointed green star in the center for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So our people, we use these crystals to enhance vibrations, frequencies, because that's what we are. We're vibrational creatures, frequencies, we're light, we're sound. And the manipulation of these things is essential for our advancement as a people in general.
And how did the Moorish-Americans create? You said they created, or
right.
People created.
I've been dying for somebody to ask me a question like this for a few years, because it's been about 1.5 years, 2 years since I was really able to expound upon the creation of the earth. But I'm not the best teacher of this lesson. The best teacher of this lesson that I have seen so far was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. If you check out the Theology of Time message from 1972, he breaks down very comprehensively how the earth was created. But the manufacturing of the earth began with the first off with the hydrogen atom. Well, let's start with thought, because that was just on the physical plane. We have to start with thought. Thought is the cause of it all, and everything in existence is a result of a thought. So as this thought slowed, visibility and tangibility, as far as our present state, our physical state now, began to manifest itself and become a reality.
Where did the thought come from?
Well, the one thought has always been and always will be the one thought, which the Moorish-Americans refer to as Allah, is incomprehensible. And we ascribe things to describe the thought, one of them being love. So, that thought can for me to describe the thought would be the same as me describing love. It's abstract, it's incomprehensible. You can sound good, you could put all the vocabulary and vernacularial words that you have in rhetoric.
But the word is in Allah. It's
it's like, if you can explain Allah, then you are Allah. And I can explain Allah, but not to not to everyone who hasn't been able to reach that level of comprehension. And I haven't reached the level of comprehension to, you know, be universal in that teaching.
So it's like they say God is love. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, when you look at a Moor, the word